I just want to see what my mother left me. The voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it echoed through the marble lobby of First Metropolitan Bank as if someone had screamed. Marcus was 19 years old. A young black man standing in the middle of Manhattan's most exclusive bank, holding a white cane in one hand and a yellowed envelope in the other. His clothes were worn. His shoes had holes. His eyes saw nothing. He lost his vision at age 7. But he felt everything. He felt the stares. He felt the contempt. He felt the awkward silence of people who preferred to pretend he didn't exist. A security guard approached. "Sir, this is a private bank. Perhaps you're looking for social services down the street." Marcus didn't move. "I have an account here. My mother opened it before she died. I just need to check the balance." From across the lobby, a laugh cut through the air. Loud. Cruel. Full of scorn. Victor Ashford sat in the VIP area, surrounded by assistants in expensive suits. At 52, he was one of the wealthiest men in New York. Owner of construction companies, malls, hotels. The kind of man who measured people's worth by the price of their shoes. "Did you hear that?" Victor said loudly to his assistants. "The blind kid thinks he has an account here. Probably found a card in the trash." Some people laughed quietly. Others looked away, uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Marcus felt his face burn. He knew this kind of humiliation. He had lived it on the streets, in shelters, in every place where he tried to exist. But he didn't come here to be humiliated. He came because of a promise. 3 weeks earlier, in the hospital, his mother held his hand for the last time. Her voice was weak, fading. "Marcus, my son. There's an envelope under my pillow. Keep it. When I'm gone, go to First Metropolitan Bank. Show them the documents. There's something there that belongs to you by right. Something your father never wanted you to know." She died that same night. Marcus never knew his father. His mother, Denise, worked as a janitor in office buildings. She raised him alone, never asking anyone for anything. When Marcus lost his sight because of an untreated infection, because they couldn't afford a doctor, she cried for 3 days. After that, she never cried in front of him again. Now Marcus stood there, holding the envelope she left, trying to honor her final wish. Victor Ashford stood up and walked toward Marcus. He stopped right in front of him, close enough for Marcus to smell the expensive cologne. "Listen, kid. I don't know what kind of scam you're trying to pull, but let me explain how the world works." He lowered his voice but spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "People like you don't have accounts at banks like this. People like you beg for change outside the subway. So why don't you make everyone's life easier and leave before I call the police?" Marcus swallowed his anger. His mother always said, "Don't let anger blind you more than your eyes already have." He took a deep breath. "Sir, I'm not asking for anything of yours. I just want to see what my mother left me. If there's nothing, I'll leave. But I have the right to check." Victor laughed again. "Rights? Kid, you don't have any rights." What Victor Ashford didn't know, what no one in that bank knew, was that the envelope in Marcus's hands contained far more than a simple bank statement. It contained a birth certificate. And the father's name on that document was about to change everything. If you've ever been judged before having the chance to show who you really are, you know the truth always finds a way. Subscribe to discover the secret hidden in that envelope for 19 years. The security guard stepped forward, ready to escort Marcus out. But before he could touch him, a firm voice cut through the lobby. "Wait." It was Helen, a bank employee for 30 years. Gray hair, thin-framed glasses, the kind of person who knew every rule in the system, and every exception. She walked toward Marcus with calm steps. "What is your full name, young man?" "Marcus. Marcus Denise Williams." Helen frowned. Williams was a common surname, but something about the way he said it caught her attention. "Do you have documents?" Marcus handed her the yellowed envelope. Helen opened it carefully. Inside were 3 items: an old birth certificate, a bank card with faded numbers, and a handwritten letter. She looked at the birth certificate first. Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second. So quick that no one noticed. But her hands trembled. "Follow me," she said quietly. "Let's verify this somewhere more private." Victor Ashford watched from across the room, still laughing with his assistants. Look at that, old Helen is going to waste time with the beggar. I bet $50 there's nothing in that account. One of the assistants laughed. If there's 50 cents, that would be a lot. In the back office, Helen closed the door. Her hands were still trembling when she typed the account number into the system. Marcus waited in silence. He couldn't see the screen, but he could feel the tension in the air. Helen's silence lasted too long. "Ma'am? Is everything okay?" Helen didn't answer immediately. She was looking at numbers that made no sense. Not for a blind kid living on the streets. Not for the son of a janitor. The account had been opened 19 years ago. Automatic monthly deposits ever since. Never a single withdrawal. The current balance was $2,847,000. Almost $3 million. Helen swallowed hard. She checked 3 times. The number didn't change. But that wasn't the most shocking part. The most shocking part was the name of the original depositor. The person who had programmed those monthly deposits for 19 years without ever missing one. Victor James Ashford. The same man who, at this very moment, was in the lobby laughing at his own son. Helen felt her stomach turn. She had worked at the bank for 3 decades. She had seen a lot. But she had never seen anything like this. "Marcus," she said carefully, "do you know who your father is?" Marcus shook his head. "My mother never wanted to talk about him. She only said he was a man who chose money over us." Helen looked at the birth certificate again. Father's name, Victor James Ashford. Everything clicked into place. 19 years ago, Victor Ashford was a young businessman on the rise. Single. Ambitious. The kind of man who wouldn't let anything derail his career, especially not a pregnant janitor. He must have found out about Marcus. He must have offered money for silence. Denise refused the silence but accepted the deposits for her son. She never touched a single cent. She left it all for Marcus. Helen took a deep breath. "Marcus, I need you to stay here for a few minutes. There's something I need to verify with management." "Is there a problem with the account?" Helen hesitated. "No. There's no problem with the account." She paused. "The problem is with the person out there humiliating you." Marcus frowned, not understanding. Helen left the office and closed the door. In the hallway, she stopped for a moment. Her hands still trembled. Her heart pounded. In 30 years at the bank, she had never done what she was about to do. But some injustices are too big to ignore. She picked up her phone and called the bank's general director. "Mr. Morrison? It's Helen. We need an urgent meeting in the main lobby. Now." Silence on the other end. "Helen, what's going on?" "What's going on is that one of our VIP clients just publicly humiliated another client. A client who technically has more money deposited with us than the VIP." Pause. "And there's one more thing," Helen continued, her voice steady. "The VIP client is the father of the boy he just called a beggar." The envelope contained more than money. It contained a truth that Victor Ashford spent 19 years trying to hide. And now, in the bank he thought was his territory, that truth was about to explode. 10 minutes later, the lobby of First Metropolitan Bank fell silent. A different silence than before. It wasn't embarrassment. It was anticipation. Robert Morrison, the bank's general director, had come down personally from the 40th floor. Something that never happened. Beside him stood 2 board members and the institution's chief attorney. Victor Ashford noticed the movement and stood up, adjusting his jacket. "Robert. What a surprise. I was just wanting to talk to you about that project." "Victor." Morrison's voice was ice. "Sit down." Victor blinked, confused. "Excuse me." "I said sit." Something in the tone made Victor obey. For the first time, he didn't look like he owned the place. He looked like a student called to the principal's office. Helen appeared at the back office door. Beside her, Marcus walked slowly, his cane tapping the marble floor. The sound echoed through the silent lobby. Tap, tap, tap. Victor looked at the boy with irritation. "You still haven't removed this beggar? Robert, this is ridiculous. I've been a client of this bank for 25 years. I won't. Victor. Morrison raised his hand. Do you know this young man? Of course not. I've never seen this kid in my life. Morrison looked at Helen. She nodded and handed over the folder with the documents. Then perhaps you should look at this. Morrison opened the folder and pulled out the birth certificate. He walked to Victor and placed the document in front of him. Read the father's name. Victor looked at the paper. His face lost all color. This is a forgery. Someone is trying to defame me. I'll sue. The monthly deposits were made from your personal account for 19 years, Victor. Morrison's voice was calm but cutting. We have all the records. Your signature. Your bank details. You programmed automatic transfers to this boy's account from the day he was born. The entire lobby held its breath. Victor's assistant stepped away as if he had a contagious disease. Clients who had laughed before now stared at the floor, ashamed. Marcus remained still. He couldn't see the scene, but he could feel it. The silence. The tension. The weight of truth filling every corner of that marble lobby. This proves nothing, Victor tried, his voice faltering. I made those deposits out of charity. His mother worked for me. It was just charity. Marcus spoke for the first time. His voice was low but steady. Everyone turned to him. You called that charity? Marcus took a step forward. My mother worked her whole life as a janitor. She cleaned offices. She cleaned bathrooms. She cleaned up the mess of people who wouldn't even look at her. His voice didn't tremble. There was no anger. Just truth. When I was 7, I got an eye infection. The doctor said with treatment, I wouldn't lose my sight. It cost $200. My mother didn't have it. He paused. She called you. I remember. I was right beside her. She begged. She said it was about your son. That I would go blind without treatment. The silence was absolute. Do you know what you said? Marcus turned his face toward Victor, as if he could see him. You said, I don't have a son. And hung up. A woman in line covered her mouth. Someone sobbed quietly. Victor was white as paper. A week later, I lost my sight forever, Marcus continued. And my mother never called you again. Never asked for anything else. But she also never touched the money you deposited. He pulled the letter from his pocket. The letter that had been in the envelope with the birth certificate. She left me this letter. Do you want to know what it says? Marcus held out the paper to Helen. Please read it out loud, ma'am. So everyone can hear. Helen took the letter with trembling hands. Her eyes filled with tears before she even began. My dear Marcus, she read, her voice choked. If you're reading this, it's because I'm already gone. I never wanted you to know about your father. Not because I was ashamed of you, but because I was ashamed of him. She took a deep breath. He offered me money to disappear from his life. I refused. But he insisted on depositing money for you. He said it was to clear his conscience. I never touched a single cent. That money is dirty. But it's yours by right. Do with it what I never could. Turn pain into something good. Helen wiped her eyes. I raised you with what I had. With love. With work. With dignity. You never needed his money to become who you are. But now you can use that money to become who you will be. She paused before reading the last line. I love you more than any amount could ever measure. Forever. Your mother, Denise. The lobby was in tears. Even Morrison, the general director, discreetly wiped his eyes. Victor was paralyzed. Mouth open. No sound coming out. Marcus walked toward him. Stopped less than a meter away. I didn't come here for your money, Marcus said quietly. I came here for my mother. To honor her final wish. He extended his hand. For a second, it seemed like he was going to touch Victor. But he simply took the birth certificate from Morrison's hand. This is the only thing I want from you. Proof that I exist. That she didn't make anything up. That you know exactly who I am. Marcus put the document in his pocket. The money? Keep it. I don't want anything from a man who let his own son go blind so it wouldn't hurt his career. He turned and started walking toward the exit. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of the cane echoed in the absolute silence. Victor finally found his voice. Marcus, wait. I can explain. Marcus stopped. He didn't turn around. You don't need to explain. I understood everything a long time ago. He kept walking. You made your choice 19 years ago. I'm making mine now. The truth Victor Ashford hid for 2 decades had just exploded in the place where he felt most powerful. But what happened next proved that justice doesn't always come from courts. Sometimes it comes from those we least expect. Marcus didn't reach the door. Wait. The voice came from behind him. It wasn't Victor. It was Robert Morrison. Marcus stopped but didn't turn around. Young man, you said you don't want the money. But that money is legally yours. Almost $3 million. What do you plan to do with it? Marcus was silent for a moment. The entire lobby waited. My mother spent her whole life cleaning offices to raise me. She never touched that money because she had too much pride to accept crumbs from someone who treated her like garbage. He turned slowly. But she also taught me something else. That dirty money can be cleaned. Not with more dirt. With purpose. Morrison frowned. What do you mean? I lost my sight because my mother didn't have $200 for treatment. How many other children are losing their sight right now for the same reason? Marcus walked back to the center of the lobby. I want to use this money to create a fund. A fund for eye treatment for children from poor families. So that no mother ever has to choose between paying rent or saving her child's sight. Silence. Helen began crying again. Morrison swallowed hard. And what would this fund be called? Marcus didn't hesitate. The Denise Williams Fund. In honor of the woman who taught me that dignity is worth more than any bank account. From the corner of the lobby, someone started clapping. Then another. And another. Within seconds, the entire bank was standing, applauding a blind boy who had transformed humiliation into hope. Everyone except Victor Ashford. He sat alone, staring at the floor. His assistants had vanished. His rich friends pretended not to know him. The man who had entered that bank feeling like he owned the world now seemed smaller than anyone there. 1 week later, Marcus received a phone call. It was Morrison. Marcus, I need to tell you something. The video of what happened at the bank leaked. Someone recorded everything and posted it online. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. And it went viral. 15 million views in 5 days. Newspapers, television, podcasts. Everyone is talking about you. Marcus didn't know what to say. There's more, Morrison continued. After the story spread, donations started coming in for the fund you want to create. From ordinary people. From companies. Even from other banks. How much? Morrison paused. So far? $4.7 million. And it's still growing. Marcus let the phone fall into his lap. 4.7 million. Added to the nearly 3 million in the account. That was over $7 million to help children he would never meet see a world he himself could not. Marcus? Are you there? He picked up the phone again. I'm here. I'm just processing. There's one more thing. Several medical schools reached out. They want to offer you scholarships. They say someone with your story could inspire a generation of doctors. Marcus laughed softly. A laugh wet with tears. My mother always said I would do something great. I thought she was just being a mom. She was right. 6 months later, the first clinic of the Denise Williams Fund opened in Brooklyn. A small, simple clinic without luxury. But with state-of-the-art equipment and doctors who agreed to work for half the market salary just to be part of the project. On the entrance wall, a single photo. Denise Williams, smiling, holding a newborn baby in her arms. Below the photo, a simple plaque. Dignity cannot be bought. It must be built. Marcus couldn't see the photo, but he touched the glass protecting it with his fingertips. We did it, Mom, he whispered. We did it. And Victor Ashford? The story destroyed his reputation. Partners abandoned projects. Contracts were cancelled. The man once celebrated as an example of success became synonymous with shame. He tried to contact Marcus 3 times. 3 times he was ignored. The 4th time, he sent a letter. Marcus asked Helen to read it. He says he's sorry. That he wants to meet you. That he wants to make up for the lost years. Marcus was silent for a long moment. What do you want to do? Helen asked. Marcus thought about his mother. About the nights she worked double shifts so he could have food. About the mornings she woke before sunrise to take him to school. About the day she cried in secret because she couldn't afford the treatment that would have saved his eyes. Write back to him, Marcus said finally. What do you want me to write? Marcus took a deep breath. Write this: you chose not to be my father 19 years ago. I choose to respect that decision. I hold no grudge. But I also have no room in my life for someone who only shows up after the whole world is watching. My mother taught me that family isn't blood. It's who stays when no one is looking. You never stayed. I wish you peace. But that peace will have to be found far from me. Helen wrote every word. When she finished, she wiped her eyes. Marcus, that was. It was the truth, he said simply. Nothing more, nothing less. That night, Marcus sat on a bench in the square across from the clinic. He couldn't see the stars, but he could feel the wind on his face. He could hear the sound of the city around him. He could feel, for the first time in a long while, that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. His mother had been right. Dirty money can be cleaned. With purpose. With dignity. With love. And sometimes, the greatest victory isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something so beautiful that the pain becomes a bridge for others to cross. Marcus proved that a person's true worth isn't measured by what they can see, but by what they choose to do with what they have. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to remember, it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is where you choose to go.